Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, August the 30th, and it is a sunny day here. It's perfectly pleasant. Not quite to the glorious levels that I was enjoying, a little while ago, which I really enjoyed. But it's sunny and warm, and I will take that because we know that winter will be upon us soon enough. So my philosophy is relish all the warm sunny days that you've got, because the snow will be coming. So the topic for today is let's recap some SALs and do an end of August update. So we're going to start off with the SALs. I'm going to try to go through these pretty quickly. All of them you have heard of before. But just want to do a little bit of a reminder on things. So we're going to start off with Morison, which you've all heard me talk about. I'm highlighting this because there's going to be a third and final print run for this. And in my head, they're going to have to make that call on the third print run. I'm going mid-September-esque. So I don't know that they have a firm date, but I don't think it could be much further past the middle of September, just in order to get it done and get things ready for their shipment dates in October. So if you're interested in Morison, order your copies now. Times are running out. So again, in the show notes below, you will see links to the video where I talked about this a lot, as well as links to where you can order this on Traditional Stitches webpage, and to Nicola Parkman's video talking about it. So that's Morison. And let's not forget, all of these SALs are, SALs that I'm totally participating in by watching, because I usually like to stitch my stitch-alongs substantially later than when they're actually running. So this is SAL number 2. This is the Glendon Place Strength and Hope. Again, the chart is free through Glendon Place. The reason why I'm showing this particular one is that they posted this on their website as their framed piece, and I think it's a better picture than the one that I'd shown you previously. And quite frankly, the reason why I think that is because it really highlights. In my head, I wasn't exactly sure why I needed 4 skeins of white, but of course, when you're stitching on that Jade, picture this plus fabric and this border, there you go, 4 skeins of natural from Dinky dyes. So yes, like that one. So as you know, I have fabric, technically not the right count, but the right color, and I have bought all the Dinky dye silks to go with this. So, 5 years from now, when we get to that moment where I'm going to start actively stitching, participating for the SAL, I'll be ready to go, right on time and on schedule. Yeah, we'll just go with that. Okay. The third one is the Blooming Bouquet SAL. So I was watching Caroline from Off the Grid Needle Arts. She has a start date for the SAL that she is hosting for this. And her start date is October the 12th. October the 12th being Canadian Thanksgiving. So again, the concept is choose any one of Jeannette's blooming bouquets and stitch them. And the Judy rules are, or any other Jeannette Douglas design that catches your fancy. Technically, Caroline has never said no to that concept. So, and again, that's in my head, every SAL works like that, or whatever. Congratulations. They can call it whatever they want. You get to stitch whatever you want. That's how I generally view the SALs. And of course, so there's 4 of these. The one that I have is Actually, I'm looking at this going, that's not right. It's this one. Joyful. That's the one that I've got. Now, with the announcement of the October 12th, you know that my whole goal was where I had to get to by the start of the SAL to actively participate. And once we get through my stitching, we'll talk about whether or not I think I'm going to make that October 12th date. So that's the Blooming Bouquets with now an official start date of October 12th. Again, Anne Morison, I don't think I mentioned this, so the official start date of that SAL is December the 5th. Again, you need to get your orders in for your charts and supplies just so that you have it in case you're wanting to actively, and by actively I mean stitch, as opposed to where I actively participate by watching and liking what people are showing and all that kind of stuff. That's my active, but that's me. Okay, so those are the 3 SALs that we've got that I'm talking about. There's a bajillion others out there. With it being August the 30th, everybody's talking about their September plans, and so there's all these topics about, you know, what's September. So there's Sampler September, there's Serendipitous September, there was one other one that I heard, which I've of course have already forgotten, but call September whatever you want September, and then do that. How's that? Which of course is generally my approach to all kinds of stitching. Decide what you want to work on and then do that. It's very simple. All right, so what have I been stitching this week? Well, let's talk about the ongoing, never-ending, but it will come to an end someday. The Marbeck Nativity. Dun, dun, dun. Working on the bottom half of this. You guys are going to be so thrilled when I get to move back up and start working on the top and do something different. So I will show you what I have accomplished this week, and then we'll talk a little bit about the progress in August. So, where did I get to? All right. So, all of the blue in the shepherd is now complete. That's what I finished this week. There's a big empty spot here, and that's because that's not blue, that's going to be orange. So I have this little bit left to fill in, and then I have the rest of the shepherd to fill in. I'm a little disappointed with my progress, I have to say, because I really wanted to finish the shepherd this week. But then I remember I had that week where I didn't get as much stitching in because I was outside enjoying the gloriousness, and it was August and it was lovely, and so I just need to be okay with it because that was it still is the right decision. As much as I want to finish this and so I can move on and do other things, being outside and enjoying the lovely weather was really important. So the interesting thing for me before I came on here today, I actually did go back and say, so what have I actually accomplished in August? So at the end of July, what I had was, I had to the end of the columns. So the columns were done. So again, donkey, which you can't really see, donkey, and all of this. So, you know, progress is progress. It looks not bad for an entire month of stitching. I'm back on in my head. I tell myself you really should have been in a position where the shepherd was complete. Whether it's okay. But I'm now looking at this saying, okay, September is 2 days away. You really need to buckle down. The days are not going to be warm and glorious anymore. So, okay, so buckle down and pull it together and get stitching. Because I really would like Marbeck to be complete this year. That would be so lovely. And it's not going to happen if I don't, you know, hurry up. So I need to hurry up. Anywho, So that's where I got to on Marbeck. Progress is progress. I did work briefly on something else this week, which you've seen before, which is no problem. So I'm back on, was working on my mini block Autumn by Hinzeit. And so where did I get to on this one? Just realized I forgot all my glorious clips. Doesn't matter. We're adaptable. We can do things. Now, again, not a ton of progress. So I finished the other two columns. So again, this is the ones where I talked to you about that I was going to need to go and I was going to need to fussy cut my thread to get it, because I really wanted them to look like the two over here. So do they look exactly like the two that I wanted to mimic? No. My answer is this one's not bad. This one's not quite exactly where I wanted it, but it was fine. I decided it was close enough. So now in my head, I'm going, we're 3 weeks away from the official declaration of fall. I think it's official. Yes, that has to be. There we go. Fall, because it's September. So I've got 3 weeks, which means if I did 1 letter a week, granted, there's 6 charms that have to get stitched onto here, but attaching the charms is really not that big a task. So if I could just do 1 letter a week, and they're not exactly gigantic. So in my head, I keep going, you should be able to accomplish this. So we'll see how I do. So I do have this as sort of as part of my goal. So yes, working on Marbeck and need to buckle under that, but you know, in order to not get too mentally dragged down by only working on the one while dreaming about 400 other things to stitch, this is my little break. So 3 letters, hopefully I'll make it. I know it seems like a very reasonable, achievable, realistic goal, but it's me, so who knows how that's actually going to work out. We'll try. All right, so that's my stitching for this week. In my ongoing saga of highlight, I've decided maybe this is really what I'm going to do, is make sure every week I can highlight a free chart. So I was watching Flosstube this week and was watching Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff. And she's been working on this project for a while because she likes to work on a lot of different projects, and some of her projects are gigantic, you know, HAID level, full coverage, all sorts of things, complicated stuff. And so she works on this particular one randomly, and every time she hauls it up, she says the link is in the notes below, because every time she shows it, there's always a ton of questions about it. And it really is lovely. So I'm going to show it to you because it's a free chart. So this is the flowers of the month. So there's one for every month, and you can download them individually. So there's no way to download all 12 of them as one chart. You have to download each of them, but you don't have to download all of them. You can absolutely just download the ones that you want. I think it's a really lovely set of flowers. And certainly Jessie Marie's is coming along quite nicely and looks lovely. And it's free. Now the interesting thing about this, so I think you can slightly see it, it's from, these are from 2010. And you know my whole thing is I get worried anytime that there's a free pattern that the free pattern is not necessarily going to be available for all time. So when you see it, download it. Have I downloaded this quite some time ago? Sure. Probably the first time I saw it on Jessie Marie, well, probably not. Probably the second time I saw Jessie Marie haul one of these flowers out is when I actually went and got it. But you know me, I'm always concerned that the free charts go away, so I certainly have this in my stash. And stitching them together, so that's what she's doing. She's stitching all 12 together, 3 across, 4 down, just like this, and it looks lovely. It looks really nice. So again, the link to this will be in the notes below, so feel free to go download 12 or 1. They're not, the individual squares are not very big. They're 63 by 63. So again, quite a manageable size. So that's my free chart of the week. All right, what else have I got to talk about? I have a couple of things. So we're finally moving on to some other things. We're going to go back and show a couple of things that I talked about before, only because it came up in the context of some other things, and I just wanted to highlight the don't forget concept of things when you're stitching. And so I think I've talked about the Stitch Your Own Adventure Harry Potter stitch along with cutting cross stitch. Again, free, massive. The designing that he's done there is just unbelievable, and then the creativity of the people in the group with what they're doing, and you know, the people who are diligently following along and doing as the chart looks fantastic. The people are taking aspects of the chart and changing some of them, also looks great. It's really, to me, that's a really fantastic group to watch what's going on, because what everybody's doing is so different. And you know, again, for me, it's, you know, am I ever going to stitch this? I don't know, but I love watching this stuff. I love what people are doing, because it, you know, what they're thinking, what they're changing, why they're changing it. It's fantastic. I love watching all of that stuff. So it's a great Facebook group to watch. And the charts are free. I'm certainly downloading them. The next chapter drops on September the 1st. Dun, dun, dun. So September 1st, we're going to get to see our new chapter and see what's going on in there. But some of the things that have been coming up in that are things where, you know, people are changing things. And inevitably, the question is always, where did you get that? Did you chart it yourself? Is it from somewhere else? You know, how did you find this? Blah, blah, blah. And there are some really brilliant people in there where they're stitching their own things and charting them themselves, and okay, good for them. Some of them are really great where they chart them themselves and then they share the files with the group, which I love those people to death, because, okay, I'm not sure I can mimic some of those ones, so it's great. But I like the ones where they're talking about where they're bringing in elements from other charts and bringing them into that particular version of the pattern. And so, and again, because, you know, it's the Harry Potter one, so these are all going to be Harry Potter ties. And, you know, when I watch people do things, and some of them where they go like, I got this from this, which you're going to see in just a minute. I have that moment where we're like, oh, I have that, so I can do that too. Great. This is where my thing is. So here's an example of, not that anybody's done this, and, you know, the joy of me waiting until everything has been released and everybody's done all their brilliance is that I then get to go in at the end and make some decisions. But you've seen this before. So you know that I stitched Music and Books from Little House Needleworks, and I did it on that gray fabric. Now, really closely down here, which will be really hard to see, there's this little pair of glasses right on top of these books here. And so what I'm doing in my head is going, those are the perfect Harry Potter glasses. So I think I should put that in my version of the chart when and if I ever start to stitch this. But for me, the task is making the mental note that says, hey, if you ever want to add in the Harry Potter glasses to somewhere in this, into that particular design, all you have to do is go back to this pattern, which you already have, and do these. I think it would be great. I don't know where they belong in there, but I'm keeping that. I'm keeping that in my idea file for that particular SAL. And then this one, again, I showed this particular chart a while ago. So this was the Mill Hill A Visit with Saint Nick. And so again, I'm not doing, so this is not my idea. This is somebody else's idea. But what I did, so what they did is there's, they ended up incorporating this chair into the design of part 4. So again, they showed on the group what their version of that particular aspect of part 4, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, that's right. And of course everybody was like, oh my goodness, did you chart the chair by yourself? And she fantastically came back and said, no, this is exactly where I picked it up from. I have this, and this is where I got it from. And I, of course, went, oh, thank heavens, I have that chart already. Fantastic. So if I wanted to put the chair into mine, I've got the chair ready to go. And again, so if you don't want it this color, you can just make it whatever color you want to go with what you're doing. But I really liked it because I'm like going, oh, thank heavens, I've got that chart. Somebody else posted one this week, and it was a link to an Etsy designer. Yeah, I was like, so that particular chart is now successfully residing in my Etsy cart, where I'm trying to decide if I like the concept. So anyway, so those are just things like as you're stitching, you know, when you're stitching these types of designs that have, you know, elements in them, don't forget, you know, when you're stitching some other chart and you're going, if only I had a fill in the blank, that maybe in one of the things you've already done and the charts you already own has something that you can then translate over. Now, you'll have to watch your sizes and do the math and do the counting and figure out if it's going to fit and if it's proportional to what you're doing. So, you know, sometimes they're not perfect. Sometimes they are perfect. Anyway, it's been an interesting week, and I was like, yeah, a couple of these have been sitting out here for a long time. They've been in my topics to mention, but when you're doing any of those designs that have multiple motifs, don't forget to technically in your head do a little bit of, I should remember I've got, you know, I've got X already somewhere in charts that I have at home. All right, that's that. Now I'm going to do a little bit of haul. You know that I've got a stack of haul going on. And we're going to start to work our way through it. So I'm going to start with this one particular designer. It's got a couple of things going on. So I ordered these through my LNS. So these are New York Dreamer charts. So this is springtime. And I was getting onto the New York Dreamer ones because as far as I know, I don't think that they're very active designers anymore. And in fact, I think quite a few of their charts are starting to become hard to find. So I've been watching people talk about these and stitching on them, and I have done absolutely nothing until recently. But it got to a point where I'm like, okay, I think it's starting to get harder and harder to find these. And if you like them, which is why you keep looking at them, you should probably go get them. So I went and got some. So, but this is another example of, you know, I like the concept here, but some of the actual aspects of this are totally going to have to be changed, particularly colors, which is, you know, my thing. So one, I would change the background color of this particular one because, you know, I'm not good with the browns. The second one, so springtime here is done with Classic Colorworks Cauldron, which is very gray. I don't know that you're actually going to, it's not bad. It's not quite accurate, but. And so gray to me does not scream springtime. So even though I have this in my stash and even though it's called for in my chart, whenever I get around to doing springtime, there's no way I'm going to do that. So my answer to that is I would have to go into my stash and find a purple, a highly variegated purple, because I would want lights and darks and medium tones in there. And so this would end up becoming purple. That's my starting point. You know, have I solved all the other things that I want to change from a color perspective? No. Do I need to make those decisions? No. Why? Because I'm not starting it anytime soon. But my whole point was I'm getting my New York Dreamer patterns while they were still available. So that's springtime. You'll never guess what's coming next. Yeah. Summertime. So again, a little bit of color tweaking is my expectation for what I'm going to end up doing on this. You know, 47 years in the future when I get around to it. Guess what's next? Not autumn time. Why? Because autumn time, I think, has actually gone out of print. You might be able to find it at some LNS if they actually have it physically in stock. You know, I wouldn't say that these are terribly old designs, so, you know, 2014-esque. But my understanding is that autumn time is actually really hard to come by. In a minute, I'll show you what that one looks like, because I've got a couple of other ones. So then, of course, comes winter time. So I've got that. And then, because I'm one of the queens of Christmas, Home for Christmas. So these are not terribly big charts again. Wonder why that's going on. I don't know, might have to do something with Marbeck. You know, 18 by 27. I might have a little penchant for something that's a little less lofty in size for my next charts. So all of these are, so like these three, my time ones, are all 150 wide by 63, 64 tall. So they do have other ones. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Hard to see, but so there's autumn time down here. They also have Hanukkah time. They also have, and it may come as a surprise to you that I don't have this, but they do have a Christmas time. And the only reason, so that one is still available, but the only reason why I didn't get it is because I have, you know, being a queen of Christmas, I have a lot of charts that talk about Christmas. And while I think this one is nice, the ones that I already have in my stash, I like better. So if I came to sort of that point where I'm like, okay, I want to stitch something that, you know, has the word Christmas in it, I'm probably going to stitch one of those long before I would ever stitch this. And, you know, while I think it's nice and it would go with everything else, I've made the decision that I'm probably not going to get that chart, because at the end of the day, even if I had all the stitching time in the world, it's probably not going to rise up high enough on my to-do list to warrant actually getting the chart. It's okay to admire charts from afar. I know based on some of the things that you've seen from me that that doesn't sound like me, but sometimes I am capable of practicing restraint. So those are my New York Dreamer charts. Again, I was ordering them from my LNS just because I was starting to fear that they were going to go out of print and that they wouldn't be able to get them. And then you're into, you know, you need somebody from Stash Unload or find it on eBay or something weird like that. And since I had, you know, since they are still available and my, you know, I checked with my LNS and they said, nope, we can totally order those in for you, not a problem. I went and I ordered them and I got them, so I have them. So if they go out of print and people are going like, oh my goodness, I can't find springtime, summertime, whatever, I'm going to have them in my chart for about 12 years down the road when I'm going to be ready to work on these. So that is my, yeah, there's more haul left to go, but I figured I wasn't going to inundate you with all haul. And so we're going to straggle it out over some number of weeks. So, you know, just to give you something else to look at, because, you know, you'll never guess, what am I going to be showing you next week? Wait for it, Marbeck. Hopefully, if I do my job right, and my, you know, Hinzeit pattern, because I'm theoretically trying to get a letter done a week, but anywho, never mind that. All right, those are my hot topics for this week. My plans, I continue to mull in my head a ridiculous amount of things about what I'm going to be doing in 2021, because Marbeck's going to be done. Little fuzzy about how great that's going to be, given that, you know, I didn't get as much accomplished in August as I wanted on Marbeck, but it's the whole welcome to September, everybody's going back to school, you know, time for me to buckle down. And, you know, again, the weather won't be quite as nice, so my desire to be outside will be somewhat less. And we'll be preparing for winter, and that'll be all right. We can do this. So hopefully I'll get to buckle down and make some decent progress. I'm going to try to figure out in the next couple of days what I exactly want to have accomplished on Marbeck by the end of September, and then figure out a way to actually get that done. So that's my goal for that part. So we'll see how we do on that. Yeah, I have a theory. I don't know if it's entirely gonna work out, so we'll see. I gotta think about it. But anyway, in the meantime, behind the scenes, I'm watching Flosstubes, doing reasonably well about not trying to buy all the things, but I am still working on a list. Again, I'm going to work up my list of the things that I want to get, because I'm still going to try and do Stitch from Stash in 2021. I figure if I just keep saying it and putting it out there, that all of you are going to hold me accountable-esque to say, now, Judy, behave yourself. You know, again, I was watching the Sunshine Stitchers, and they were talking about their Start at September. That's the third one. It was the Sunshine Stitchers. So the No News Starts 2021 Facebook group, which I'm debating technically joining. I've got to watch their rules, because we all know I'm planning on starting things in 2021. So it would certainly be joining the group only so that I could view, as opposed to actively participate the way in the rules that they want, because I am planning on starting things. But I enjoyed that apparently in the Facebook group they've sort of said, this is your month to start things. And so they were sort of you know, the Sunshine Stitchers, two of them are planning on doing the No New Starts 2021. So two of them were sort of talking about the things that they are planning on starting in September, because it's started September in preparation for No New Starts. And again, this just cracks me up, right? Welcome to Stitchers. We have a way around every rule of a lot of things. Hi, No New Starts 2021. We're going to start 400 things between now and the end of the year, in case we want to stitch on them in 2021, which is the year that we can't start them. Or things like, hey, you know, Stitch from Stash 2021, which means I just need to buy a lot of things in 2020 so that I can then stitch from stash, because I will have all of those things. Even though I've got some stash and blah, 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 and etc., etc. You know, for me, the thing, after having spent so much time on Marbeck, is that I am going to be wanting to do different things. So I am, you know, in my head, part of this process, you know, the also distraction is I'm working through my head the things that I think, concepts of what I want to do in 2021, so that I can kit those things up before we hit 2021, so that when I make my final decision, I'm ready to go. I know. Justifications for everything. That's how we do things. Anyway, those are all of my topics for this week. So I hope you all had a pretty good week. Still concerned about weather things happening in a variety of places. 'Tis the season for some of those events to be occurring. So my line is always, hey, safety first. Safety first, safety first. Let's make sure everybody is safe. But other than that, I hope you all will have a really great week, and that you will find time to do some stitching and find some peace in your stitching. We'll see you next week.